Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are from around the world. Welcome to the virtual worldwide technology Raceway. It's Gateway, which might be more familiar to you. The scene of many cool IndyCar races over the years. This time, we have the US IndyCar League at Gateway with the Alzheimer's Association 180. It's going to be 144 laps of exciting action, and we're just getting ready to go here on VirtualRacing.Network, and cars are just about to head out on track. And my name, of course, is Trevor Greenfield, and I've been doing all of the broadcast commentary for the US IndyCar League thus far this season, but as does happen occasionally, I am joined in the booth today by none other than the legendary Matt Kingsbury, IndyCar racer, NASCAR racer, GT racer, and so pleased to have you in the booth, Matt. Welcome once again to the broadcast.
Thanks, Trevor. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. You love this track, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like that it's a short track. I find they're a little more challenging, and it's a very technical track with a lot of things that's going on, and it's a very hard track to drive, no matter what car you're in, so it's a lot of fun.
You bet. I love it. From the first time I got here, I loved it. So we take a look at some of the drivers who are out there. We got Howard Livingston, who has set the fastest time in the Care Camps automobile there with a 25:55. Says he's still got one lap to go, so I assume he did that on his first lap as we catch James Kennedy coming across the line in second. And we've got Graham Bunyan on a flyer. You know what that means. Take a look at the points leader, Graham Bunyan. So we get set for, as I mentioned, 144 laps of action. Plenty of time to enact some strategy as Graham comes across the line. First lap, good enough for pole, 25.52. Not a surprise at all. So Graham putting his name to the top, the points leader. Now hoping to do a little bit better maybe on the second lap as we have Richard Kelba also out there. I saw that Inigo Mardones, who is also qualifying at the moment. And wow, Graham ups his time to a 25:44, excuse me. Inigo Mardones was actually fastest in the pre-race practice. So I didn't see if somebody pipped him there at the end, but he is somebody to watch out for. He possibly has got it figured out, though I have to say on entry there to turn 3 did not look so smooth. So we'll have to check and see if he can improve his time. And
No, a big mistake there. No one, he got loose, so that's not going to be a good lap.
yeah, definitely a little bit of a struggle. We've got David Strid here, our star last week. Glad to see him back. Fellow Australian to Graham. Qualifies in 6th. Inigo Mardones now slotting into 8th. Ryan Bowles on track. Looks like he just finished.
Yeah, Mardoni has really struggled with that lap there, and he didn't even get a support, so he's going to have to start towards the end of the back of the field here.
Well, Matt, you were telling me earlier you were feeling it out with the setup that was provided for this race, and it was feeling a little loose, so it's tough to say whether they got it more stabilized for qualifying, but I would imagine that would translate straight over from the race setup. Might be a little loose for these drivers on that first lap, but either way, going to be, as soon as this goes official, which hasn't yet, got about 20 seconds until it goes official. And, Matt, this is turning into the Graham Bunyan show here on VirtualRacing.Network, but that's not such a bad thing. He shows up week in and week out, puts in those great laps. He's kind of the benchmark. He's that driver that you look to who's always going to be at the front, and if you can beat him on a particular day, it's probably got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, and I think Howard was pretty strong qualifying. His lap looked pretty good. He's about a 10th off, but in practice he was good. So I think There's people out there, the right strategy possible.
Absolutely. Well, we'll have to check in on that strategy as we go along here. So, as we can see, qualifying results, it's Graham Bunyan and Howard Livingston second, James Kennedy third, Dan Ench in the Alzheimer's.org car. So trying to raise some awareness for Alzheimer's Association. We'll get into talking a little bit more about that as the race goes on. So happy to be doing this race for a great cause like that. Rick Lovison there in 5th, David Strid 6th, Jason Lowe 7th, your points defending champion, still struggling to get that pace out of the car. Inigo Mardones in 8th, Ryan Bowles 9th, Richard Kelbaugh 10th, Jeff Murray 11th, Alex Simkowski, great debut last week, slotting in 12th, Mike West 13th, and Manuel Gomez Esteban in 14th. It's kind of surprising. Thought Gomez Esteban might be a little faster here, but I don't know if he got in a full lap or not. Hey, Matt, while we have a chance, why don't we go ahead and take a look at the... hide this on the screen. Take a look at the race video that you prepared for us so we can get a feel for what it's going to be like for these drivers out there.
Hello, race fans. Today we're at Gateway, and this has got to be the toughest oval on the circuit. Coming into turn 1 at 185 miles an hour, you got to slow it way down in the 4th gear. 2 lines you can run here, a high line or a low line. I like the high line better. And then up to 5th gear, and got to be careful entry gear, it gets a little loose. So just got to be careful not to turn too much. Here's a weight jacker. Back in the throttle pretty hard, and out of the corner pretty easily. Up to 6th gear. And that's a lap of Gateway.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Matt, for doing that. That, I think, gives everybody an idea of how quick that lap is, so we should fly through this 144 laps. But secondly, 2 different shaped corners on the oval, a bit different than some of the tracks that we go to, kind of egg-shaped. What are some of the key points you're looking at today for the race, Matt?
Yeah, this has got one of the hardest pit lanes on both sides of the track to utilize. Not to mention, it's the first corner and the 3rd and 4th corner. All 4 corners here are tough. You know, there's different lines you can run, and if you get it wrong, carry too much speed, you're going to easily be in the wall.
Well, this track, every time that I've done it, the biggest problem has been coming off of turn 2. People getting loose coming off of 2, spinning it out towards the inside. We'll see if that's an issue today. But either way, you got to get it done for 144 laps. You got to keep it on the track. No scruffs with the wall because that can damage your car. But this guy leading us to the green flag, starting alongside of Howard Livingston, it's Graham Bunyan. And he'll lead us down to turn 1. Here we go. And it looks like Kennedy slotting in behind Dan Ench, just behind, as those two jockeying for position. Ench goes high off of the corner, allowing Kennedy to get back by, and also David Strigg getting by. So Ench potentially suffering issues there on the very start. We've got kind of a stack up going a little bit further back with Inigo Mardones and Jason Lowe. Looks like Bowles may have a move on Lowe here in a moment. So Matt, it's already starting to it looks like it's already starting to get down to single file procession here as we look. Actually, I see Kennedy on the move, going around the outside. Going around the outside of David Strid.
Yeah, and David actually had dropped a tire there on the curb and gotten loose, so that was kind of a sketchy moment. He almost just wrecked it in front of the whole field.
Oh no. That would have not been so great, but fortunately we continue on. Oh, if I had $1 for every time I almost wrecked it or someone else almost wrecked it and destroyed the field, I would be rich at this point. But Graham Bunyan putting in the fastest lap of the race last lap. No surprise. Just getting it done, 25.87 from Graham's cockpit. Take a look at what it looks like from Howard Livingston's point of view as that Graham Bunyan car just disappears off over the horizon. Actually only 0.7 of a second, but already starting to pull out many gaps. We look at James Kennedy now running in third. It's been a little while since we called James Kennedy up here at the front. Skipped a couple of races, but now seeing him back in the field, it's great because he's already won one race this season. We'll take a look at the points here in just a second. We don't have much time in the beginning of the broadcast to show those graphics. But Kennedy, as I mentioned, one of the winners, so looking to come back and get some more points. David Strid here in fourth, up 2 positions. Dan Ench falling back a position in the Alz.org car. I'm sure he'll want to get that beautiful reflective metallic machine or Spark Last Lap Motorsports up into the front. And we'll have the pleasure of talking with Dan here in a little bit. Ryan Bowles now shown in 6th place. He's up 3 spots already. And he's got Inigo Mardones really hunting him down. They were nose to tail basically from the start. Looks like Bowles got around Mardones, and now Mardones is shadowing Bowles for 6th place.
Yeah, Inigo is one of those ones I've got circled here as one of my 3 favorites, along with Graham and Howard, from what I saw in practice. So his qualifying times were quite shocking, but I think we give him a few laps here, he'll be up to 6th place, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him up to 5th or 4th, at least on the tail end of him by the end of the pit stops sequence if he's moving forward at the pace he's been moving forward at.
So if you're Mardones here, maybe you have a little bit of speed on the guy in front, Ryan Bowles. Just a question, where would you look to make your pass if you're trying? Are you trying to go on the inside turn 1? Are you trying to go outside, make a pass that way, maybe turn 3? Where's your preferred place to pass here?
There's a few ways to get it done, but for me, if I'm waiting for a mistake. So as we see, he goes really high right there at a 4. And this is going to leave the inside open for Inigo, but he's going a little too far back. So if something like that, or if you could set up, a high line run like he's doing here now, to try to carry speed off in the corner here and get alongside in the corner entry, that's one way to get it done as he goes to the inside here.
There we go. Mardones down to the inside, into 3. Can he get it done? Very tricky. Easy to go side by side through a lot of this track. It's nice and wide, but difficult to get the speed off the lower line, and a lot of times that high line off of 4 gives you that extra speed down the straightaway, makes it really tricky to pull it off. So we see Inigo potentially a little loose coming off of 2, but makes it work. There, drives down the inside into 3.
Yeah, that was a nice pass right there. He read the situation again. He saw it happening, previous lap. And then the important part is you got to be able to carry the speed off the corner, so you got to be clear. So he got enough overlap that he's able to clear himself there, and that's how he got the pass on.
You got to complete the pass. You can start the pass, but if you don't complete it by the time that it's necessary to complete it, things can end in tears. Here we got Jason. It looks like Ryan Bowles really struggling now. He did work his way around. Went to the wrong car there, but he did work his way around Inigo Mardones in the very start, perhaps not being able to manage the tools quite as well in the cockpit as Mardones and Lowe, and keep those tires under him. That's one of the biggest factors here. Even though it's a fixed series, you do have the anti-roll bar front, anti-roll bar back. Who do we have in the wall? Look at Alex Sinkowski. And we'll have to take a look at that and see what happened.
He got tight, got the wall out of 2, and then Manuel Gomez Esteban had nowhere to go and ran right into the back.
And that's exactly it. And unfortunate for both of those drivers. We'll take another look at it here on the screen, but you can see it looked like it just got high off of 2, Matt.
Yeah, I was gonna come and I saw him, battling earlier, and I think this might be one of his first oval races, so it's a tough learning experience with all the tools in the car. So it's a tough step up, and it's a big ask, especially at a track like this. It's one of those tracks where the tools are so important, And then obviously, the car might feel tight, but if you put too much in, you're gonna spin. So you gotta play with those weight jackers.
Well, and so, talk about, for those who may be watching, maybe some of the friends, family, spectators who don't do iRacing, what does it feel like in the car when it leads to something like this? So, for example, you're just racing, car feels great for a few laps, and then all of a sudden, what happens? It starts to get tight, it starts to get loose.
Yeah, it really depends on the balance of the car. If you have too much weight jacker in the car, it might feel really good, but then all of a sudden it might just start getting really slippery in the rear and you might getting loose in turn-in, loose on exit. So you got to take some weight jacker out towards the negative direction to tighten it up. Or if you're too loose, too tight like he was there, you might not even notice it until too late because we like to drive our cars neutral. So if you keep, a neutral car naturally feels pretty good, and then it might just creep up on the tight side, and if you don't catch the fact that it's understeering, you're going to push into the wall. So to counteract understeer, we increase our weight jacker. So you got to keep that balance right, and that can be a little tough, especially at a track like Gateway, where both of the corners are different shaped and speeds. So it's very tough here.
Yeah, absolutely. Tricky to get it quite right, and Matt, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but since we have a caution on the track, why don't we go ahead and find out a little bit more from our sponsor here, so I can make sure that we have them queued up. Why don't we watch this message from our sponsor, Alzheimer's.org.
We've invented cars that drive themselves and 3D printers that build prosthetic arms and legs. We've successfully transplanted hearts and lungs. Now it's time to end Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is on track to cost the nation $1.1 trillion by 2050. We can either be known for having the most expensive disease in history or for putting an end to it. Ask Congress to join the fight at alz.org/time-to-end-ALZ.
And of course, that alz.org, very special to all of us, but certainly to our drivers as well. I know Dan Ench dealing with a lot of that in his life, and we encourage everybody to go to alz.org to learn more and potentially to donate. Donations really what's driving the fight against alz.org, or the fight against Alzheimer's. So thank you to alz.org and Dan Ench for bringing that awareness to everyone. So back to the race. It's David Strid leading us to the green flag. Mike West in second. Graham Bunyan in third. Graham Bunyan, the first of the rest to make of the field, and they've actually all made pit stops except for the top two, David Strid, Mike West. How's this going to work out, Matt?
Yeah, it's interesting because there is somewhat of a fuel save strategy that you can utilize now. So the first two obviously are going to be running it on no fuel save here, which might work to their favor. So I like that call. If you're not in a position to win the race, go out there, put yourself in a position to be out front. So great strategy call by these two.
Well, what it's done is it's taken what we thought would be, if it was green flag all the way, as we see Graham Bunyan diving down the inside of his teammate Mike West. We thought that it might lead to a non-fuel save strategy for the rest of the race, but as you mentioned, just because of the timing of that caution, it's really changed the whole complexity of what these drivers are looking for. But you got to stay adaptive like that, right, Matt? I mean, you can't just pick a strategy and say that's it no matter what. As Graham Bunyan now dives into the lead and looks, we did have contact. See if we can see that again. We're a little bit too far back there. Apologize. We'll go. We do see David Strid really struggling there. Apologize.
Yeah,
we're trying to find the moment.
Mike West was running the low side. I mean, Mike was just running the racing line. I don't know if Mike got any damage from that, but David had let Graham had taken a dive on him, so he backed out of the corner to make sure he didn't get up into the marbles and into the wall, and just kind of came down on Mike, and it does look like both have damage because they're falling back. So,
and we can see now Mike falling back into the clutches of Jason Lowe. in 6th place. Mike was up 6 positions with that pit strategy of not pitting. But looks like Lowe getting around, and as you said, potentially Mike with damage now.
So, other big news, Inigo Mardonez has a broken right front tire. Not sure when that happened, but it looked like he got into the wall 1 and 2 on lap 21.
I see that. Let's see if we can tell. Go back.
Looked like there was cars that were a little slower. They were side by side in front of him. Didn't even expect that. It got loose on the turn and
and there it
went
was.
Up the track.
We just saw it on the screen. We'll see if we can replay that one more time.
We did stay green under all that. I guess there was no tracks for staying green.
Exactly. So, well, my software not wanting to participate, but nevertheless, Mardonez's in the pits at the moment. He did have damage. We saw him strike the outside wall, but Graham Bunyan has assumed the lead, and he's put 2.7 seconds behind him, or between him and Howard Livingston. Howard Livingston, of course, running Care Camp's car. We talked about that earlier during the Indy race and that great organization. Take a look over here at James Kennedy, who still managed to have it in 3rd. Guessing he works in some sort of construction or has one of those man caves with a bunch of tools in it. Just taking a wild shot, but love to get him on broadcast interview after the race and find out what that's all about. Next up on the track, David Strid. Now, Strid is almost 5.5 seconds he slid back, but of course he was one of those drivers who did not stop. So as we work lap 27 now, how many laps can we go before we got a pit, Matt?
40 to 41. If they fuel save, they could make the 43 to 43 laps they need to make. It's going to be tough ass for the fuel strategy, but it is possibly like if you're sitting in someone's draft here, I'd look for Dan Edge to be that guy. But there is definitely a possible fuel save strategy, but they have to do 44 or 43 laps.
Well, 43, 44 now, is that with the caution laps, a couple of laps of caution, or would you just
that was starting
that?
at lap 130, so with 130 to go, so lap 14 onwards. So that might not include the caution lap.
We might have had another incident here. I'm looking at a note that says Mike West has had an incident. Yes, same exact problem, and Gomez Esteban again collected in another incident.
I mean, this time he never lifted off the gas until he was in the guy's bumper, so you got to be a little heads up. See that happening, you got to lift off the throttle.
Well, there's so much going on the track, Matt. Sometimes you're looking down at your weight jacker settings or something, and the accident happens in front of you. Not that that's what happened or an excuse, but then we keep joining it a little too late, so we'll go back to the earlier.
Yeah, it stinks for him because it's not really his fault, but if you lift out of the throttle and because the other guy's trying to come down the track there, he bounces off the wall. If you say hi, he's in the clear. He's not going to get in that wreck. But he comes low and runs right into the back. So it's unfortunate, but sometimes it's a little better to lift off the throttle for a split second than keep the throttle into it and try to swerve around that car.
Exactly. Well, we can see it on our screen. 2 cars thoroughly destroyed, mirrors and wings and tires flying about the track, and that is not how you would want to have seen your day. Mike West was just up in the lead, and now falling back through the field. He's going to have to take repairs. It's going to put him a couple of laps down, and Gomez Esteban seems like he just hasn't had any luck all day today. Getting caught in an earlier incident, getting the car repaired, and then having yet another incident. Actually, it's amazing that Gomez Esteban is only a couple of laps down because he was caught in that previous incident. So just a chance to get into the pits, I guess, and get it repaired and get out before too many laps lost. But Still, Jason Lowe actually now taking over the lead. He's one of the cars that has chosen not to pit under this caution. And
Yeah,
so
I find that interesting because it's hard to make it on fuel from here. And if you pit right here, you're good on fuel. So I find that an interesting strategy, but maybe caution is good.
well, while we have just a second, and we still have the lights on the pace car, which of course means they'll be continuing around, why don't we go ahead and take a look at the current series points up on your screen. So we've got Graham Bunyan in the lead, nobody's shock, and we just saw his teammate Mike West. He was in second place in the points, but with that incident, it very well is going to cost him points for this race. So very likely other drivers will pick up some points. Jason Lowe now into third in the points, up 2 spots. Dan Ench also up 2 spots. So, but nevertheless, you can see that big gap to Mike West and Jason Lowe, over 100 points to Graham Bunyan, with the 16 bonus points that Graham has managed to collect, 4 poles, 4 wins. Matt, I'm telling you, this is looking up to be another Graham Bunyan domination season, and possibly taking that title away from Jason Lowe, but you never know. Anything can happen, as we just saw happen to Mike West and Manuel Gomez Esteban. Anything can happen in these races. People can find themselves crashed out or what have you. As the lights are off the pace car, we're going to be going green this next time by.
Yeah, I mean, he really controls his own destiny at this point, I feel like. He's fast, so he's always usually at the front of the field. I think what's important to remember is he doesn't have to win every race, right? So tracks like this, like Gateway, right? Those are driver's tracks where you can get out in front, but tracks like, say, Auto Club, right, where you can get a draft pack. I know we've already raced there, but tracks like that where you have overtakes, Texas this week.
Texas, we'll have Chicagoland later on the final race of the season.
So tracks like that, it's okay to sometimes sit second or third and limit your points loss rather than risk getting wrecked by someone that's racing you for the championship. Because they got nothing to lose. If they wreck with you, what are they losing? So they might take a little more risk then.
Absolutely. And I was just going to capitalize on that by saying Graham Bunyan is in a different championship racing strategy than Jason Lowe is, but they still have different races to think about, and they need to keep it clean, because the last thing you need to do is crash no matter which position you're in. So there, Jason Lowe leading us back to the green flag. And Bunyan second, James Kennedy third. Kennedy, Bunyan, and Livingston stopping for fuel and tires under that caution. So this is going to put a 15-lap difference. We'll take a look.
Good restart by James Kennedy as he gets around Graham Bunyan there. So put Kennedy as the first car down there on new tires.
You bet. And hanging Graham Bunyan out on the high side, but Graham gets that run off the corner. Manages to retake the position, and now Bunyan challenging for the lead.
Wow.
Into 3.
He's got some speed there. He's really gelling with this track, so just a great pass there. But it looks like Lowe ain't gonna give it up so easy. He's gonna try to fight back in the bottom.
Tell you what, Graham was really trying for a 2-for-1, and he drove it really deep into the corner.
Yeah, Kennedy there just got really close to crashing Jason Lowe, but great save there. Locked up the brakes. He was on a 4-wheel slide and managed to save it, keep it out of the wall. So nice job there.
Absolutely, excellent job. These drivers, well, we've already had 2 cautions, so I guess we can throw out the other note that I had for today, which is that the drivers, this tends to be one of the cleanest series I've seen, and they managed to pull out full green flag races with no cautions in them more often than most of the Indy Open or Indy Fixed races managed to do that. But nevertheless, we had a couple of cautions today, so that does change all of these drivers' strategies, and some drivers going to be facing some tire issues. That, by the way, that last time by Graham Bunyan, fastest lap of the race, 25.70. So he's He's just setting it in overdrive and taking off, but we'll look and see if anyone can stay up with Mr. Bunyan. Jason Lowe in second. Again, he's one of those drivers that did not stop this last time by, so he's 15 laps older tires, and that will definitely play a role as this continues. James Kennedy here in third, as Matt was just mentioning. Kind of the best and the worst of the last several laps. He's managed to get up there and was challenging for the lead, certainly past Graham Bunyan, and then slid backwards, and perhaps this thing got loose very quickly because he did a four-wheel drift into the corner. Managed to have kind of got it back under himself, and now he's coasting there in third place, exactly where he started. Howard Livingston here in fourth, just about 0.8 of a second back, and then we've got David Strid running in fifth. Gain a position so far today, and still in touch with the leaders. But Graham Bunyan getting it done. Lap 40. It seems like every single week it's just we're talking about how Graham manages to handle the car, handle those tools, and save fuel at the same time. And he's just really been able to show his talent, put his talent on display here in the US IndyCar League. And that's one of the great things about the league, is how accessible it is, whether you're kind of newish to iRacing and Indy cars, but you have the skills and you have the requirements met. You can come on over to US IndyCar League and you'll find a very receptive group here. Alex Simkowski last week telling us how he just came over from Forza IndyCar Racing earlier this year, and already, even though this race not working out well for him, last race at Monza working out very well for him, all the way to drivers like Graham Bunyan, Jason Lowe, and a number of others, Dan Ench, who have been around for a number of years. Great gentlemen drivers who tend to give a little bit more room than some of the cutthroat leagues and official series that are out there, and that's all in the name of good fun. So it's just great to be covering these races for US IndyCar League here on VirtualRacing.Network, and again, just so pleased to have everybody joining us out there in YouTube land. So we can see over in YouTube, appreciate you guys joining us over there. We've got several of you watching with us. We've got Will Stern saying he's not racing today, but just watching, and we appreciate you doing that. Descus Racing saying that he doesn't have... Oh, it's Dave Zalesky says he doesn't have Gateway, so he's going to see us at Texas. Well, that's a rough one, Dave. Paul, sad that you can't make it for this one because of that, but it happens a lot. And Matt, I mean, that's yet another part of this is in real life, you show up for a race, and as we can see, actually, there's a battle starting to shape up here between David Strid and Howard Livingston. I was just going to say, in real life, there's so many costs that are involved. You got to travel to the racetrack. You got to do hospitality. You got to pay your entry fees. There's, of course, the parts and damage. There's all of that kind of stuff. But here in iRacing, the real cost of entry, besides the entry fee into the league, is you got to buy the tracks and the cars. And it just, we're going through this. Oh, we got a yellow flag. What's happened? Jeff Murray has had a moment there. You can see him smacking the wall, coming down the front straight.
Oh, he broke off all the corners on that car. He hit the front end and the rear end. Car's not in a good way right now, but thankfully no one else was caught up in.
Take a look as he's exiting turn 4. We're not on the right car, though, so we'll have to back that up. So, software, it changes when you're not looking, and we can see Jeff having issues there. We'll back it up one more time. We'll see if we can catch it the right way here. Here we go. So we catch him coming off of turn 4, and yeah, it just drifts too high, just too high. And again, easy to do about this point in the stint, where now we see everybody coming into the pits, including Jason Lowe. So this will completely change the strategy, putting Lowe back onto the preferred strategy with everyone else. And what are you doing, Matt? You short filling? Can you take 2 side tires? You guys used to do that in NASCAR a lot.
No, here you won't want to do that. It would unbalance the car. It wouldn't be any faster either. So, but yeah, I mean, good call by Jason to come down. Some of the same strategy as Graham, so he did everything he needed there to put himself, up a few spots. A nice job there. As for fuel strategy, they're within 100 laps here, so there really isn't one. It's going to be pretty straightforward to the end here.
Low rolls, but he can't beat Bunyan off pit road. That's okay. He'll slot into third, Kennedy he'll slot into second, Kennedy in third, Livingston in fourth. And looks like most of the drivers resuming their previous positions entering the pits, so nobody really losing any time. I guess everybody doing a full fill up and getting tires. So we're kind of reset here, and you'll have to crunch some numbers and let us know if we were to go green from here, how many stops are we looking, and is this a fuel race? But that's kind of the same calculations you got to do from your cockpit. A lot of these drivers having fuel calculator software to do that math for them. We heard that Graham Bunyan also has a buddy who sometimes isn't in his ear telling him what's going on with strategy. So always good to have friends in the know.
Yeah, we're going to be looking about 30 to 32 or 33 laps per stint here. We got 3 more stints, 2 more pit stops. And I think the big thing to highlight here is if there is tire wear, you're stuck behind someone slower than you, you can short pit and run a longer second stint, longer third stint, and try to outpace them so you can jump spots. But the risk with that being caution that flies, you're trapped a lap or down.
Exactly. You definitely can get trapped down a lap, as we were talking about earlier. So well, while we have another moment, why don't we talk about the other sponsor that this race is presented by? It's StickQuik, of course. StickQuik, we've been talking about all season, partner of the US IndyCar League, and you can just see on your screen all these really cool ways you can use the StickQuik. I don't see the green, or at least my bright green color on the screen, but that's the one I've got. Matches my racing colors. But you can get red, purple, there's all kinds of, and obviously the blue color there. So there's the green, you can see it, the yellow, black, whatever works for your colors of your garage. And the cool thing is, or your house or whatever, the cool thing is these things will work anywhere. So they'll work in your shower, so you can hang up your razor. They'll work in your around your tool shed. You can throw one of these things, if you need your adjustable spanner or whatever you need to have close access to, you just throw this on there and hook it up to your to whatever's metal, and it is close. And anything else you can really think of, because you can stick this quick anywhere in your house, in your garage, in your car, in your life. Matt, I think we need like a whole box of these. I think it'll just make us faster on the racetrack. So anyway, just go to StickQuik.com and you'll learn more. You can buy whatever color you would like. So really cool, handy thing. Sure hope StickQuik gets a bunch of orders, and while you're at it, of course, go over and visit alz.org, our title sponsor of the race, and throw them a little bit of money as well, so that we can end Alzheimer's and help everyone out who is suffering with that. Of course, not just the primary sufferers, but the families as well. They suffer as well. So anyway, Jason Lowe here in second, Graham Bunyan in first. We get ready to go. I think what you told me is there's no more fuel save strategy from this point out. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's no more fuel save strategy. We're going to be going green, hopefully all the way, since it's like pit stops and good racing.
So we'll see if we can get through this one on pure strategy, pure green flag strategy alone, and see who has the pace to do it. It's Graham Bunyan, your leader, Jason Lowe second, James Kennedy in third, Howard Livingston fourth, David Strid fifth, Dan Ench in sixth. Don't count him out. He's just hanging back there. I don't think he has any damage. But Dan Ench in sixth, Rick Lovison in seventh, Richard Kelbaugh in eighth, and Ryan Bowles in ninth. That is your runner still on the lead lap and still having a chance realistically at a win.
I think Dan was looking real quick there to check up for cars in front of him that had gotten bogged up, but I think he's said it's go. It looks like he said it's go time because he's sending it right now and hitting his lines. So keep an eye on him maybe to pick up a spot or two here.
Speaking of that, we were talking with Dan just before the broadcast, and Dan made a prediction. He said he's going for it. He's going for the win. He wants to put that Alz.org car up there in the front and get it into winner circle so that this makes a memorable end to this race for him. Oh, and there he's getting very close to David Stritt into turn 2.
Yeah, I really think besides Graham, he looks like one of the stronger cars in there. So I think he's got a shot here if he can just pick up a few spots. Before I think if he can pick up 2 before the next pit's next, and then maybe a little bit of a short pit, he's got a good chance at it.
Well, we just saw James Kennedy, previous race winner, pass Jason Lowe. We say, where have you been, James Kennedy? We welcome your talent in these races, because anybody who can manage to eclipse Lowe there is somebody who might have a chance at challenging Bunyan. But I say that, and Bunyan has not only set the fastest lap, but he's just really walked off the front of this. He's already up 2.4 seconds on the rest of the field. Hey, Matt, let me ask you a quick question. What about burning off your tires going too fast at the beginning of a stint? You think that's a thing, or do you think Graham Bunyan is going to be okay on those tires?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's possible, but his line looks really smooth, so I don't think it's a worry for him. But we'll have to wait and see.
Well, it's wait and see time for a number of these drivers, as we're going to have a very long green flag stint potentially, and that means, again, you just got to really manage your tires as we see Jason Lowe starting to go a bit higher up on the track, perhaps searching for some of that high side grip, maybe the car getting a little loose by taking too low of a line. There, as we exit turn 2, super crucial to get the throttle down right and not lean too hard on that right rear. It can get real tempting to crank up that weight jacker and get the car to turn well off of the corner, but you do it too much and you're going to overheat that right rear. Right around you might go. You can see a battle happening a little bit further back, as it looks like Howard Livingston maybe going up the track a little bit. Definitely a little slower than the cars in front of him. So now Strid makes his move down the inside. So we're going to exit turn 4. Strid will have a chance here. He shows his nose down the inside of Howard. And
David's been driving it really hard in turn 1. I think he's gotten loose on turning it a few times here, so he's got to be careful with weight jacker and make sure he's taking care of that, because if he doesn't, you could see him around pretty quickly.
Indeed, might end up throwing it around. Turn 1 and 2 easy to do that with. 3 and 4 a little bit of a different entry in mid corner, so not as much temptation to have that thing loop in on turn in. But 1 is very hard down onto the brakes and down into the corner and lifting, and then quick application of throttle. Oh, and there he dives down the inside. Exiting turn 4, he tried it last time, got it set up. I think Livingston's going to still have the pace down into turn 1. Strid now struggling a little bit in turn 1.
Yeah, it's extremely tough when your opponent is running high side in 1 and 2 and not the bottom, because it doesn't give you a chance to build any speed through 1 and 2 to gain through 3 and 4 and possibly make that pass work. So he's going to have to, do that coming into 1 and 2 and try to clear, actually slide job his way through the pass.
Well, at some point that becomes necessary. You can only sit back and wait for so long, and they give you, if the driver in front gives you that opening, at some point you got to take it, and they just have to be aware there is a car coming. It may not be the happiest, cleanest pass, but as you said, there's a reason why the term slide job exists. It's because in dirt racing, on an oval, sometimes that's the only way to get that pass done, is you got to do the slide job. And it also depends too on how you have the tool set on this car. Does it want to run up the track and run the higher line faster? Do you have it set so that it wants to run the lower line, or maybe splitting the difference between the two? Have you found a later apex, an earlier apex? How you're driving the car, how you adjust the settings on the car that gets it into the groove on the track. It's a little different for everyone, so then you've got to decide. If I'm taking a shallower entry and maybe a little bit tighter of an exit, I'm gonna have to do the slide job on somebody, because I'm not taking a line that is going to come off the corner better than my opponent. So I gotta throw that thing in there and see if I can make it stick on them. And of course, that's always the question: can you make it stick without taking out the driver in front of you? And then secondly, can you still manage to get off the corner fast enough that they won't eclipse you? And that's how you end up with a lot of times these battles that go back and forth with drivers 1 and 2, just swapping every corner, basically each end of the track, one slide job and the other overtakes. But not seeing that here. We're seeing Graham Bunyan basically off the front by about 2 seconds, though. It looks like Kennedy kind of bringing that gap possibly back in. And we can also see we've got Inigo Mardones back into the pits here, so having issues and rejoining back in 12th.
Yeah, so bringing it back to the point you made earlier, I've noticed that Graham is a little slower than Jason Lowe. I think Lowe right now is definitely the fastest car on track, but he is bottled up behind James. But the two of them are slightly catching Graham Bunyan, and that is partially due to traffic, but also possibly due to tire wear.
Right, and there you can see on screen the comparison between Kennedy and Bunyan. Bunyan losing a few tenths over the last few laps. Kennedy managing to keep it nice and clean, as Bunyan needing to work around some lap traffic. I see Jeff Murray just up the road there. And it looks like that time by Kennedy managing to go again about just under 2 tenths faster Bunyan did than Kennedy. So just kind of swapping times back and forth, but that gap has reduced down to 1.8 seconds. So we'll keep an eye on it and see as it gets very close exiting 4 there between Kennedy and Murray.
Yeah, I think this is one area where Graham's experience is going to help him. He's got a lot of experience running through traffic like this, especially late in a run. It can be a little tricky. So I think that's something that's going to help him. And this is one of the tracks where it is very difficult to overtake slower cars just because you lose so much downforce.
Well, he actually did a good job of getting by Graham Bunyan's teammate Mike West there, as we can see that also Jason Lowe managing to get by on the same straight, no problem. So Lowe is just only a half a second back from Kennedy, hanging right on to the final podium spot here. And again, we'll just have to watch and see what Kennedy can manage to do. That last time by, though, losing 7 tenths of a second, unfortunately, due to the traffic. So as you mentioned, how you work that traffic, so crucial. We really haven't even talked about that as one of our key points, but on a smaller track like this isn't really a short track, but on a smaller track like this, the cars don't get a chance to spread out quite as much, and you really do still have to work the traffic, and that can really hurt you if you're trying to get the speed and catch somebody, or you're trying to gap the field like Graham Bunyan is. If you struggle with traffic for a couple of laps, that could put somebody right on your tail.
Yeah, 1 and 2 in this track drive similar to a short track, but 3 and 4, while it isn't a fast corner for Indy cars, with the current package that we have on the car, it's almost full throttle, so it's a lot more high speed in that area of the track, 1 and 2, but it does drive similar to a short track, very different pass.
Well, as we look at David Strid here, we're on lap 75. We're just over halfway. You're watching Season 11, Round 7, the Alzheimer's Association 180, presented by StickQuik. You're watching on VirtualRacing.Network, so pleased to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us today, and each and every Sunday, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video and click on that little notification bell. You'll make sure that you get notified when we're going live for the next race. But it's been great action so far in this league and in this race, and we're now watching long green flag stints and seeing who can play out the best pace on track. And right now at the moment it's Graham Bunyan, but not by much. He's only managed to pull out just about 3 seconds now on James Kennedy. Finds himself in second. He's up a place today from where he started. Here we got Jason Lowe in third. He's up 4 spots today so far from where he qualified. Sure, he'll be thrilled about that thus far. And Howard Livingston, he's lost a couple positions. He had a great qualifier. For a moment, he was on the pole. Found himself on the outside in the Care Camps machine. He's lost a couple of spots, but still hanging on to fourth. David Strid here. He's been up and down. He was on an alternate strategy, and now looks like he's drifted back to fifth. It's up a place, and still having notes that Inigo Mardona's again into the pits, so probably still suffering with that machine. Dan Inch, he's lost a couple of spots since the start, but you never really know what kind of race Dan Inch is performing out there. We'll have to see if he can manage to get the pace and claw his way back. I know he wants to get that Alzheimer's.org, ALZ.org car up into the front, but sometimes it's just a little out of your hands. The car doesn't want to quite hang on the way that you need it to. We'll see though. There's always cautions potentially and other ways to get up there to the front. Meanwhile, Rick Lovison with his beautiful livery, custom done livery there. And he's running in 7th. What's that, Matt?
I think we got the pit window open up here, so I think we'll see some guys dive down. That'll be interesting. But I think we've got a lot of guys running in great spots here. Like you said, Howard and his Care Camp car, and David Strid. I'm finding it really interesting, the battle between the two of them, because they're not that far apart on track, and they're running very different lines. They both look very fast.
Absolutely looking fast. You can see Bowles. Oh, and Bowles up into the wall there in the middle of the corner. That was turn 3 and turn 4. Bowles really running the high line. It kind of looks like the NASCAR running right up next to the wall, but there's no advantage to doing that in the IndyCar, right, Matt?
No. I mean, maybe not this track, but if you go to like Iowa or Richmond, it can sometimes work with the variable banking. But here, I wouldn't want to run up there.
I know when they just introduced that, like it's what do they call that, wall drafting, where you run right next to the wall in the stock car. But I know when they just announced that, I was watching them do that at Homestead, and I was like, let me give that a try in the IndyCar. Didn't work. Did not work at all.
The IndyCars have a little different profile. The stock cars, you know, they have a big flat side on them, so it kind of makes a cushion of air up against the wall, and you know, it pushes against the side of the car, which you know, it helps turn the car. David Strid, I believe, is in pit lane.
Well, we were on with him as he entered pit lane, and I think this may be a problem for him because it looked like there was a heavy lockup well after he got to the timing pylon, so we'll see whether or not he comes back into the pits afterwards.
Yeah, he might have got caught speeding there. He was a little over. We'll have to see.
Well, meanwhile,
yeah, he's still there, so he's definitely got caught speeding.
Yeah. The old speeding will cost you laps, and that's unfortunate. I mean, on a track like this, just because of that speeding penalty, you may lose another 1 or possibly 2 laps just because of that speeding penalty. Really, that's always such a sour thing. Like, you come in maybe just a couple of miles an hour too hot. It's not like it's a proportional deal where you're a couple of miles too hot and then they give you a couple miles an hour too hot, and they give you like maybe a 2-second hold. It doesn't work like that. They give you the full, what is it, 26 seconds or something you have to hold on pit lane, some ridiculous amount.
I'm not sure. It might be 15. I forget if it's. I don't know. It might be more than that if you hit it too fast. Who knows? Graham Bunyan down in pit lane.
And also Dan Ench on pit lane, Jeff Murray, Ryan Bowles on pit lane. And so here Bunyan just behind. Looked like it got real close there on entry for Bunyan. You could see a still brake smoke hanging up there in the air as Kennedy goes by. But this is going to give Jason Lowe the lead. So Lowe doing the overcut, so to speak. Now he's coming into the pits. You can see Kelbaugh just in front of him entering very slow. I don't know if this is normal speed. I know you have to keep it real careful as he goes towards the outside of Kelbaugh on the entry there.
It's going to cost Lowe a bit of time on Graham Bunyan, but he might be able to, catch Kennedy if he didn't have a good entry either, so we'll have to wait and see.
Well, what this does is give Rick Lovison a bonus point for leading a lap, so I'm sure he'll love that. And he's also coming into the pits. And so we just saw Graham Bunyan go flashing by Jason Lowe while Lowe was still in the pits. Again, I look at that entry, and that's one of those unfortunate situations where, first of all, there is an entry lane. That is not common on most racetracks, most oval racetracks that we'll visit, except for like Indy. There is actually a pit entry lane. What's that, Matt?
Yeah, that pit entry makes it hard, but he lost about 4 seconds on the pit entry to Graham Bunyan.
Right, and that's what I was saying is he got caught behind the lap car of Richard Kelbaugh, and he doesn't really care how fast he's going down that lane because he's not racing for the lead right at this moment. So Lowe has to either pass Kelbaugh on that entry road, which is next to impossible and extremely dangerous, or he has to sit back there and just wait for Kelbaugh to make it into the pits. And so losing several seconds crucial there, as now we take a look and it looks like Jason Lowe is now 11 seconds adrift. So if he lost 4 or 5 seconds because of that pit entry, that's really just basically destroyed any chance for him on a green flag to be able to get the win. As we see now Livingston getting by.
Yeah, he's struggling. Jason Lowe is struggling with the balance of his car. Not sure if there's some sort of damage. Maybe he hit something. I don't know. The car looks good, but it might just be getting the tires up pressure. But Howard Livingston, full advantage of that.
You bet. Livingston last week getting the podium position. Now looking to do the same thing, but Lowe says, not so fast, Howard. I've got something to say. We're going side by side into turn 2. And exiting 2, it's Livingston on top, trying to hold that high line speed, but as they go into 3, it's going to be Lowe with the advantage. We'll see if he can clear him with the slide job. Doesn't look like he can, so Livingston will come back on the outside with the speed, be able to retake that position.
Yeah, Howard's got a little older tires, not many laps, so it shouldn't make too much of a difference, but it will for a few laps. So Jason was trying to take advantage of, that 2 or 3 time advantage he might have, but it's going to be tough to get around him on the bottom here, especially with how tight the car runs around this place. So Howard doing a good job to be patient there and hold his line and keep him on the bottom. That's, I think, the smartest way to defend your position is to run that second groove.
And I was just thinking about Lowe struggling coming out of the pits. As you mentioned, it could be tire pressures, waiting for that to come up and everything to feel right, the tire temperatures, all of that needs to get up and get to where you want it to be so that the car is running the right way for the setup for that stint. But possibly also, it depends on how heavy of a change you're making on those in-car tools, because sometimes you change the weight jacker so much from one end of the stint to the other end of the stint that you can basically forget to adjust the weight jacker and have it be completely wrong, or the ARBs, you can have it be just absolutely wrong for heading out on the track, and it could, I mean, if you go in with where you ended the last stint and you come out of the pits, you could loop it, you could, but at a minimum, it just won't be right exiting the pit. So I don't know if that's what Jason Lowe did, but needless to say, literally all of us have done that at some point, just forgetting or not quite getting the weight jacker back to where it should.
Yeah, I think that's probably what happened, and also the fact that he was now in clean air. He hadn't ever been in clean air, I think, all race almost, so might have had it set for a dirty air setting and forgot that it's a little lower for clean air, a little more downforce on the nose.
Absolutely.
So I think that's likely what happened. You're spot on with that.
Well, I've done a couple of races in these cars, and I've made many mistakes in them. So as far as making mistakes, I probably have some good commentary to add. But easy to do. It's so, I mean, you really have to be on the ball. Like I said before, this is a, you know, you could see this as a gentleman's series. So we see Graham Bunyan working his way past Jeff Murray there. But you can see this as a gentleman's series. The reality is, though, that the cars are just as difficult to drive. It's not as though you don't have all the same stuff to do as if you're racing in, you know, the top split Indy Open race or something. You have to keep track of the weight jackers, the caution strategy, the fuel strategy, what fuel map do you want to run in, and then keeping track of traffic on track. Are you lapping somebody? As we see this battle continuing to rage on between Jason Lowe and Howard Livingston. So just because, you know, you're maybe in this league that is going to give a little bit more, that doesn't mean that you don't still have every single thing to do that every other IndyCar driver has to do. And it's a lot. It's a very complex automobile to drive as Lowe throws it down the inside. Howard Livingston once again can't make it stick, Matt.
Yeah, I'm watching that battle. It's really good so far. But another person I'm watching is Dan Enge. Far back, if these guys keep battling, they might open up shop for him. But right now we run with 5 cars in the lead lap, and you know, we got James Kennedy, who's doing a great job. He's only about 5 seconds back, and Howard Livingston and Jason Lowe are about 13 seconds back, and Dan Enge is just over 17 seconds back. So 5 quick cars still on the lead lap here. Pretty spread out, minus our battle for third there right now with Howard and Jason, but you still have a caution happen, so that could close the field right up.
I mean, that's always it, isn't it? I mean, basically, you could always just have a caution appear at any point, close this whole field back up, and change completely the strategy. It starts looking to be one way. You're making all your plans. Here's where I want to be. Here's where I want to pit. Here's, you know, I want to take tires at this point, and yet it can change in a heartbeat. We'll just have to see. This is just one of those races that you really don't know. And again, it could go green all the way to the end, in which case Graham Bunyan's pulled a 5.5 second gap out, and I think everybody's going to struggle to be able to get up there. But just behind, you've got, so again, 5.5 seconds back, you've got James Kennedy. And then an 8 seconds adrift of him is Howard Livingston. Jason Lowe just behind for fourth. So Lowe is not going to give Livingston anything as far as that final podium position. Again, Lowe deep in the hunt for this championship. But it looks like if it goes green until the end, Graham may have this one in the bag. He just seems to have the pace. Kennedy's matching pace, but it just seems like too many laps. It's Graham Bunyan being able to put his car a little bit faster than everyone else on the whole track.
Yeah, I mean, James has done a good job, I felt like. Didn't lose too much time in pit lane. It's hard to keep up in dirty air, and getting through traffic was a great advantage for Graham. He did it a lot better there towards the middle of the stint. And at the beginning of the early stint here, he done it really well. So he's done a nice job with that, and we are closing in on our final pit stops, so we'll have to keep an eye on that to see if anyone tries to pull a strategy call here and short pit to get fresh tires.
Well, we've actually got a good surprise as we see. Let's go ahead and talk about this first. We've got Jason Lowe into the pits. Is he trying the undercut? What's going on here, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, that was just what I just mentioned was if
Sorry about
anyone
that.
came down early for fresh tires. So I think he's coming down really early, too early, but early enough that if the tires are going to work, he's going to get around Howard. So I think I like the call here. It gives him a different window, lets him run it maybe a few tenths a lap faster, gets him a clean pit entry, which he didn't have last time. So I think great call here to try to jump someone and put himself up in another position. I think, in case of a caution.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to pull in somebody here that is one of our competitors in the series, and I saw him over in the YouTube chat watching, and I thought, hey, you know what? Why don't we invite him up to the booth and let him talk to us? Hey, David Zalesky, can you hear me there? Oh, we got you a little low. Let me try to boost you up a little bit. Go ahead and talk again.
How about now?
That's a little bit better. If you can raise it on your side, it'd be even better, boss. But it was cool to see you watching the race. Unfortunately, we'd love to have you in the race. You one of our championship contenders, and obviously also one of our frequent front runners in the show, and definitely somebody who could have been giving Graham Bunyan potentially a challenge for the lead. It just seems like you've got a handle on these things as far as the ovals go. So, did you figure out where the the voice level is there?
How about now? Is that any
That's
better?
beautiful. I can hear you loud and clear, David. So, Dave, awesome to have you with us here. What have you been watching? How's it been looking to you over in YouTube?
Oh, it's been quite the battle going on, I see, with Howard and Jason, and looks like Graham, it's the Graham Bunyan show going on here again today.
Well, so you weren't able to make today's race, but Worldwide Technology Raceway also, just because you don't have the track, it's not that familiar to you. You're going to be able to make most of the rest of the races for us?
Yeah, pretty much all the rest of the tracks I got.
Okay, awesome. I mean, you're still up there in the points. Let's see where you're at right now. I show you still being in 11th, but that's just because you haven't been doing all of the races. So if you get back in there for some more of the races, you're probably still in for a top 5 with how well you've been running in the series.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I just want to try to finish out the season, run the rest of the races, and see where things shake up.
Absolutely. So has it been a surprise to you at all to see Graham Bunyan just doing as well as he has? I mean, it's like the guy just shows up and he just knows what to do with the weight jacker, the ARBs. Do you go back and study him at all, or any of these other drivers, see if there's something you can pick up and try and learn and use for the future?
Yeah, I do that with most of the guys, especially Graham. Try to get in his cockpit during practices, watch his entries, and try to figure out what he's up to.
So what is your takeaway for next week? Again, Texas is one of the, I think that's a freebie track that's included for everybody. So hopefully we'll see everybody at that track. What are you looking at for next week at Texas? Is it a track that you've done well at previously? And what kind of is your key for doing well at Texas?
I'm just hoping to stay out of trouble, and if I can nail a top 5 out of it, that'd be good for me. I'm not going to set my standards too high on it.
And yet you seem to manage to find yourself in the top of the running order. You don't have much expectations for yourself, but we're always calling David Zalesky up there at the front in the Oreo machine. So, yeah, it's different to be able to talk to you before the race here in the booth, but or during the race, excuse me, in the booth, but nevertheless, we'd love to have you back out there on the track as we see Graham Bunyan in the pits as well as Howard Livingston. So we'll have to see if Bunyan can. I don't think he sped on pit lane. He's released, does big release burnout, heads back out on track. And we've got Dan Ench into second at the moment. So Ench not getting a lap led. Kennedy will get a lap led. And so he'll pick up a bonus point. I don't know if he picked that up before. But Dave, it's so great to have you with us, even in the broadcast booth. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll let you get back to watching the race as we get down to crunch time. We may have a battle shaping up, but we'll look forward to seeing you next week at Texas, and good luck there, boss.
Thanks, Trevor. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks, man. So Dave Zalesky joining us from the booth and from the sidelines for this race. Coming back next week, look for the Oreo Blue Machine up in the front. In the meantime, we do have James Kennedy up in the front and Dan Ench in second. Graham Bunyan makes his way back out, and we can see him on track there, third behind Kennedy. Believe still on the same lap. No, not on the same lap as Kennedy yet. Kennedy shown a lap up. So
Dan Ench just dropped down pit lane, and James is staying out. I kind of like the strategy with the gaps he has. If there's a caution that flies, he's the only car in the lead lap. Everyone else is take a wave around. So I kind of like his strategy here to stay out as long as he can. The only risk with that is if someone is close enough to overtake him, and I don't think that's the case right now. So it's interesting and good strategy in my opinion.
Well, as you mentioned, it is a little bit of a risk, because if the caution were to come out now, he would essentially be getting caught with his pants down, and he would end up at the back end of the group more than likely. So that is always that risk.
He wouldn't, though, because if a caution flies, the only two cars in the lap are him and Graham, and if he pits, he's going to restart second for Graham. And that's assuming if Graham doesn't pit also. So I actually really like this strategy.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so it would put him in a real good spot if a caution was to fly.
So he would resume the lead exiting the pits. I guess that only where if you manage to get everybody trapped a lap down, which you can do here at a track like this, where it's short enough that that's a plausible thing. Obviously at Pocono or some track like that, much longer, much more difficult to pull that off. So if that's the case and everybody's still on the same lap, and they all pit before you and you're in the lead, and then the caution comes out, now you're trapped and you'll end up going to the back of the group. But if you're in this case where everybody's a lap down, so we see Graham Bunyan now putting in the fastest lap of the race, 25.66. I mean, if you're in this case, as we see Kennedy now making his way into the pits, you could have, if the caution came out, trapped everyone a lap down, and then we would see a crazy situation where essentially he'd be on his own lap. Yeah,
I mean, I like the idea. It's a good one. But one other thing to note, Jason Lowe, through his early pit stop strategy, has put a few seconds on Howard Livingston here. So great call for him to make that short pit, and he's made it work. He's up to third.
Absolutely. That is to be noted for third, and as Kennedy falls back through the field, take a look.
He may have got a speeding penalty. He's been there for a little bit now. Oh, but he just got released, so I think he's good. No speeding.
So there you can see, put the initials up on the screen and the track map so you can see where your favorite driver is out there. But Lowe in third. I tell you what I'm looking at is, it looks to me like Graham Bunyan is about to put Dan Ench, if not Howard Livingston, a lap down here momentarily, and then he'll be coming after Jason Lowe. So it's got about an 18-second gap to Jason Lowe and 23 to Dan Ench. This is a 26-second lap, so not very long until we're going to start seeing our top five getting lapped. And then that's going to be a real problem for everyone, because legitimately he will have everyone a lap down, and unless Graham puts it in the wall, there's not really much that he can do to mess up his race and a potential race win. Nevertheless, 16 laps to go. We'll see what happens. And Bunyan continuing his reign of domination over the US IndyCar League. Kennedy actually ended up rejoining and is now in second. So he actually manages to hold on to that second place on the podium. See if he can keep it. But he's got a 7-second gap back to this man, Jason Lowe, in third, defending points champion. This will be another great finish for Jason. He's had an up and down season, and he's had the pace to be in the top 3 for the championship all season for sure, just not getting the consistency of the finishes. As you mentioned, Jason's pulled out 2.2 seconds over Howard Livingston, who now finds himself in 4th place. He was in that final podium spot, but now it's looking like that's starting to slip away for the Care Camps machine. And Dan Encher, final car on the lead lap, as we see James Kennedy now putting in the absolute fastest lap of the race at 25.64. So Kennedy, even though he's a little too far back to make that work for him to claw back that lead, still making it known that he knows how to go fast around here. And that's great to see Kennedy, the winner of the first race of the season, being able to come back here and be on the podium potentially for the end of this one. Rick Lovison, our first car a lap down. He is down a position on the day, but still hanging on to that 6th place. That's a good championship level finish. And David Strid did so great just a week ago at Monza. This week down a position on the oval here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. But still a top 10 on an oval. Anytime you can do that is a good thing. Richard Kelbaugh up 2 spots today, running in 8th with the StickQuik machine. Imagine potentially he's just got too much stuff stuck to that StickQuik machine and potentially it's slowing him down. I'll have to talk to him about his obsession with sticking things around his house and his car. Probably adding too much ballast. Ryan Bowles, he started well, was running well, and it has not been going so great for him, but he's still running where he started in 9th place. Now Mike West, the final top 10 runner, still out there running. He's a few laps down. It's about 10 laps down, but he's still up 3 spots from where he started the day. Nevertheless, as we get 10 laps to go here, Matt, it's looking like, unless there's a caution, there's only one man going to be standing at the top of this, potentially, and that's Graham Bunyan. He's been the man all day today, putting in fast laps. Last time by, a little bit slower, working through traffic, but nevertheless, he's got over a 9-second gap. And this is kind of looking like this is like a Matt Kingsbury style finish here. You just walked off the front of the field. You got nobody in your mirrors. And you can just take it easy going to the finish, right?
I wish I've had a bunch. I mean, I've had a few of those where I've been able to put on. Oh, we got a car on the wall. Ryan Bowles just took dead right on the front stretch.
I see
right
that.
in front of Howard Livingston. So it looks like something had to happen with the computer there, but that might bring out a caution.
It may indeed, as Graham makes his way around. The way the cautions are thrown is a little weird. Ryan running that top line, I'm not sure what he's doing.
Well, here's a problem. So here's a problem here. If he comes off the wall and hits it to where the cars, that was weird. I'm not sure if that was a wheel failure, computer failure, what happened.
Unfortunately for us, unless they publish it as a note in our software, it makes it very difficult to go back and see it. But we see Ryan entering the pits there. Nevertheless, we did not go caution, and here is the Al's Org car trying to stay up on the lead lap. And I'll tell you what, it's kind of like Alzheimer's, you know? You're fighting hard against this terrible disease. And Dan doing everything he can to stay on the lead lap, and they're fighting hard on the outside, and he manages to do it. So Dan trying to stay on the lead lap, and just can't quite defend the pace. Looks like Bunyan's pace just a bit too much through mid-corner, able to take it, but Dan was giving it a heck of a try to stay up there on the lead lap at least. Wasn't able to quite make it stick. So Graham has managed to lap everybody all the way up to 4th, or is coming up to lap 4th. So this is just domination on display here. The Graham Bunyan show, as we'll call it. But that's okay. As we mentioned, it gives a nice big target for anybody else who is a regular in the series, or maybe somebody new who wants to come in and give Graham a challenge. He'd welcome it. You definitely listen to him. He's a competitor through and through. He loves the challenge. He loves working this car and its adjustments and fuel strategy, and it's all about trying to get that win. And although Graham's making it look easy, he's in there working real hard every race just to get it done. Jason Lowe here running in third. So we get 3 laps to go. I don't think anybody's really close enough to challenge anyone else. I do see David Strid close enough potentially to Rick Lovison to maybe make the move. Coming up on the back, but it's going to have to get a big run off the corner. I don't think that's going to happen. So we take a look back up front. It's Graham Bunyan and James Kennedy running second, but 7 and a quarter seconds adrift. Take a look on board with Graham Bunyan as we finish this one up, heading towards the white flag. You see the flagman waving the flag there. Last time into turn 1. Matt, I don't know. I get a little nervous on that final lap, and you see a car exiting the pits, and you're just like, can't all of these people just not interfere with me and just hope I can keep it pointed in the right direction for this final lap. I'm trying to just like blank out in the final lap, just try to get to that checkers. But here it is, folks. Your winner of the Alzheimer's Association 180 presented by StickQuik here at Worldwide Technology Raceway. It's Graham Bunyan. No surprise, coming home in first. And James Kennedy, great run for him, coming home second, gaining a position today. Jason Lowe having one of those championship days where he wasn't in first, but he hung on through the whole race, gained 4 spots from where he qualified. Really didn't make too many mistakes that we saw today. So Jason really on the ball. And although he's not going to claw back any of those points from Graham Bunyan, still solidifying, at some point you got to say, okay, maybe I'm not going to get this championship again. Maybe it won't be a 4-peat, but I can do something to get second. I can still hold on to third in the championship. And he seems to indicate that he doesn't really care about that. But you know what? You kind of do at the end, because you look at your stats. Nevertheless, look at these beautiful donuts by Graham Bunyan. Picture perfect. Bang.
Oh. You got the wall. Guess we're not using that car next race.
No, it's going in the museum, right, Matt?
Yeah, I think it's going to have to.
He's not done either. He wants more donuts, more smoke for the crowd. You look at all those photographers up in the stands, the flash bulbs erupting. What an amazing run for Graham Bunyan. I can't say enough about his, last week, you could say, he comes a little bit more preloaded with a road course background, and a little bit more skilled in road courses than some of the other drivers. So kind of not a surprise to see him do as well as he did. He does some more donuts. There's no stands off the back there, but Graham ain't done with those donuts yet. He's happy. I think I don't know as far as the points yet. We're gonna have to do some calculations soon on this one, but I think Graham is very quickly getting to the point where he may have enough points pretty soon that this championship may be out of reach. So we've gone official here. Let's take a look at the final results. And so here you go. You saw it here on VirtualRacing.Network Live. It was Graham Bunyan in first, James Kennedy in second, Jason Lowe in third, Howard Livingston fourth, and Ench fifth. Rick Lovison comes home in sixth. David Strid there in seventh. Richard Kelbaugh eighth. Kelbaugh with another top 10. That's a good finish for him. Ryan Bowles in ninth. Mike West in 10th. Jeff Murray in 11th. Inigo Mardones in 12th. Manuel Gomez-Esteban in 13th. And Alex Sinkowski bringing it home in last in 14th. But the day definitely belonged to Graham Bunyan. In the meantime, I'd love to have Dan Ench join us here in the booth so we can talk a little bit more about the Alzheimer's Association. So we'll see if we can pull him in here in just a second. Hey, Dan, this is Trevor here in the booth. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Trevor, how you doing?
Oh, I'm just great. How are you doing? You're the one that just did the whole race, and you managed to get yourself out of the cockpit and up here in the booth really fast. I appreciate that. So, Dan, we were watching you the whole race, and we thought maybe you were going to have something for the leaders, but you pulled off another championship finish for the Alzheimer's Association car, and it's a top 5. That's great for the championship, but more important than that, you've got an awesome message to talk about today. It's Alzheimer's Association. So I'll just give you the floor.
Yeah, the Alzheimer's.org car was better than me today. I put it into the wall setting up for turn 1. I just barely grazed the wall in the last stint there. I was catching up pretty good and hoping for a podium. And I just kind of ruined it for myself. And I'll settle for a top 5 as always. It seems like it always. But the message is more important, like you said. And Alzheimer's.org is so important with Alzheimer's patients, with Alzheimer's caregivers, for people who have loved ones who are affected by Alzheimer's. I know they want a place to go to find the support and the information they need, and also to make some donations. We need some donations. This is a completely nonprofit organization. And there are so many people affected by this. 180,000 people a year are afflicted with Alzheimer's, and the number keeps going up. We don't know what causes it. Well, we have an idea, but we don't know what to do about it. So we need more research. We need more funding. We need more support for those who can't afford proper care. And if you would, everybody just go to alz.org, alzheimers.org, get all the information you need, make a donation. We surely would appreciate it. So that's about all I've got to say on that. I hope everybody will join in.
Well, I appreciate you stopping by, and we do appreciate what you're doing for Alzheimer's, for the Alzheimer's disease, and hopefully getting rid of that. And of course, it does affect, you talk about how many it directly affects, but there's also all of those who are indirectly affected. You've got all of the family members, as well as, everybody indirectly affected from them, who's, the friends, everybody else who's affected. So in the millions and millions that are affected by this terrible disease, and VirtualRacing.Network is definitely going to be putting forward a donation on behalf of the group and US IndyCar League. I encourage everyone else, just as Dan says, to please go to alz.org. Find out more about what they're doing. A lot of great research that they're doing, and a lot of progress has already been made. So please make your donation $1, $5, $10, $20. It all adds up. So, hey, congratulations on your race today, though. You still managed, despite tapping the wall, Dan, to pull out a top 5, and still maybe going to have a top 5, potentially top 3 in the championship if you can have some good runs at the end of this season.
Yeah, I don't know if he's already clinched it or not. I think Graham's probably already clinched it, and I don't look for him to show up in the garage. Something's going to happen to him in the paddock before the next race, I think. I'm not saying who or what or how, but something's going to happen to Graham to where he can't race the rest of the year, and he's still going to win the championship.
Well, we'll find out about that. The cleverly placed banana peel is often comical, but we'll see whether something keeps Graham from racing. I doubt it, though. That guy just seems to love to show up and beat everybody's pants off. So anyway, congratulations, top 5, Dan, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. You'll still be rocking the same livery and helping out alz.org. So appreciate it, bud.
And thank you, Trevor and Matt, for all the great work you do. And thank you to StickQuik for sharing the title. Well, they're not sharing the title of the whole season, but we do appreciate StickQuik giving us a little time to say this about alz.org and for everything else they do for this league. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan, for joining us. And I can see that we also now have in the booth our third place finisher. We've got Jason Lowe. Jason, can you hear me there?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Hey, Jason, you know what? This looked like classic Jason Lowe, challenging up in the front. The whole race, pretty much, certainly early on, looked like you had some really good pace. falling back a little bit from your higher up starting position, or from your from where you had gotten to early in the race, but you managed to claw it back. You were fighting with Howard Livingston for a bit for that third place podium spot, but you managed to get it from him. And then you were just pretty much running the podium spot all race. I mean, it looked like classic Jason Lowe challenging for championship top 3.
Yeah, I had a good day at the Alzheimer.org race. Didn't qualify very well, kind of unfortunately, typical me. I'm someday going to learn to do better on qualifying. Stayed out during the first caution and was actually able to keep pace on older tires, which made me happy because I was really bad on new tires. The car really wanted to get sideways in 3 and 4 on the new tires. I tried some in-car adjustments. I never got it just right. Graham and James both had more pace than me. They were just about a 12th quicker a lap consistently. I just couldn't do anything with them. Had a good time racing with Howard because me and him, we have a good relationship. He's somebody you can trust to run side by side, and that's always fun. I don't know. It's grateful to be on the podium. Congratulations to Graham and James, and I'm happy to be here. Wish I could have done better, but happy that I made it to where I did.
Always happy to get that final spot on the podium, and again, it's just going to look really good in the points at the end of the season. Now, talking about James Kennedy coming back with a splash, finding himself in second place. He was fast all day today, and of course, Graham is just one of those benchmarks that it seems like he is the fastest guy every single race. So unless you can somehow find a way to get a leg up on him, it's always tricky. But let me ask you, you made your pass on Howard Livingston and then you're running in third. You can try more adjustments to find more speed, but at some point you realize, I just think Kennedy and Bunyan have this figured out a little bit better. Do you go into do you keep trying to find speed? Do you keep trying to see if there's a way you can claw it back? Or do you ever really kick into a mode where you say, hey, I've got third. If I just want to hang on to it, maybe I stop trying some of these aggressive weight jacker moves and stuff like that. I just try to hang on to what I've got.
I've discovered in the past, if I try to slow down, it usually means I'm going to screw something up. So I pretty much keep my foot in it because you find your comfortable pace and you run it. And if you monkey around with that, especially at a place like this track, it's easy to get that outside wall because you're literally, you push up a couple inches and you're in the wall here. So a few people experienced that today. I saw it both in front of me and I saw it behind me. This place is tricky, 1 and 2 especially. So I didn't ever alter my pace, except I use a fuel app called Bazwise, which has always treated me right. But I went from being a half a lap good on gas with 10 laps to go. I was 3/4 of a lap short. And so I had to start lifting right after the start finish line and just coast into 1 and 2. And I actually ran out of fuel coming to the start finish line. If I'd run out any sooner, Howard would have got me. So that was the only pace altering that I did, was I got saved just enough fuel to get to the finish line. Thank goodness.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. Yeah, Matt was commenting that you actually came into the pits. We thought you were maybe trying the undercut, but that you came in. I know that came back to bite you. I want to say it was it was last race. You came in a little bit too early, like maybe a lap or two too early, and then you weren't going to be able to make it stick, so you had to come back in. Anyway, well, you managed to pull it off, and whether you have enough fuel by 1/10 of a lap or you've got 10 laps enough fuel, it doesn't make any difference as long as you get over that line. So whatever you did to do your fuel save, it worked, and that's how close it was for third place. Otherwise, we'd be talking to Howard a couple weeks in a row. Anyway, awesome to have you back up in the challenge for the lead, and I'm just hoping that for all the folks watching over on YouTube, you'll be able to challenge for first or second next week. Really give it to Graham.
Yeah, moved up 1 spot in the points today to second overall, and Dan moved up 1 spot in the third. Unless something tragic happens to Graham, like he's kidnapped or a space rock falls on his house, it's his championship to lose at this point, but certainly not counting myself out. Just looking at the numbers and going, some ugly things have to happen if anything's going to change.
You bet. Well, you'll try to keep it clean for the rest of the season. You'll do your magic dance ceremony tonight to potentially have some voodoo befall Mr. Bunyan, but either way, it looks really hard to stop that guy. He's just walking away with it. Nevertheless, our series defending point champion, Jason Lowe, you ended up with third today. Congratulations and good luck for the future. You got any thoughts on Texas next week?
Well, no, but the thing you just said, voodoo.
Yeah.
I think I know somebody who can make me a doll, so I'm going to take that idea and run with it. And looking forward to Texas. Thank you, as always, for a great broadcast. And thanks to StickQuik.
Oh, my goodness. Well, there we go. Jason Lowe joining us here on broadcast of VirtualRacing.Network. Always great to chat with him. And I hope we haven't unleashed some evil spirits in the world with this one. But hey, it gets really competitive. This is a gentleman's series, but I tell you what, for first, second, or third, it is cutthroat. So why don't we go ahead and bring in Graham Bunyan, who hopefully wasn't listening too carefully to what Jason Lowe was saying previously. Graham, can you hear us?
I'm going to find some bubble wrap and find a padded cell and lock myself up for a week. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, my goodness. Well, either way, as they were mentioning, you've done so much in this series, this league, that from basically race one onwards, you've been dominant, and it's not been every week. I mean, you've struggled a couple of weeks, but mostly, for the most part, just like this race. I mean, this is like a prime example of how your season's been going. You walked away from the field. Literally nobody could contest you. The only time you even were having any struggle was when you had to make a pit stop and others didn't. You had to work your way around them. Graham, you absolutely trounced the field today. What's it like to be so dominant out there?
I just think I'm lucky. I don't think I'm dominant. I just think I'm lucky. I think anybody can get me. They just got to get the right way around the track.
Well, easier said than done. You're like, you're saying, oh, you just got to get the right way around the track. But obviously everybody giving it their all and qualifying and in the race. And it's probably down to a little bit more aggressive application of inputs, but that has to do with how you get the car configured going into the corner with the tools, etc. And obviously you're finding just that extra little bit of speed that nobody else can seem to find. And yet there ain't no way to cheat out there. I mean, everybody's got the same setup, the same tools. It's not like you were out there grinding setups all week long until the midnight hours and everyone else just shows up on Sunday and tries to race. Everybody gets the setups at the same time. And so, Graham, what's next for you? I mean, do you just keep your head down? Honestly, you say you're going to lock yourself in a padded cell. I hear what you're saying, but seriously, you just keep your head down and look forward to next week at Texas and just keep the same type of concentration.
For sure. Look, I'm still going to be competitive. I'm still going to go out there and try and win, but at the same time, I'm not going to do anything stupid either. If somebody gets past me, I'm not going to make it hard, but hard as in wreck. I will make it hard. I'll make my car a little bit wider, but it's just eyes forward and head down, bum up, as they say. That's all you can do. And you really don't want to give anything up, I suppose.
Yeah, and I guess if you're going into championship, mode where basically you just have to show up and finish the races in somewhat like a top 10 fashion, you'll probably have the championship. It seems easy, but the reality is lap one, you could get wrecked out. You could end up in the pits. You could completely destroy the car to the point where it's unfixable, unsalvageable. So, I mean, anything can truly happen in this championship, but nevertheless, let's talk about something a little different than that. Graham, what else are you doing? How often are you racing on iRacing? Do you keep yourself fresh all the time? Are you just getting in for one race a week? What's your schedule like?
Ooh, I don't have a big schedule at all. I'm just sort of sitting around watching everybody else race and just sort of chucking somebody else who used to sit on a big pedestal and watch everybody else race and have a comment to say. But I'm just sort of watching and might jump in a race here and there. But mainly the league, bit of practice with the boys. We do a lot of road stuff or a couple of ovals, just driving different stuff. Try and keep the reflexes there, I suppose.
Do you drive, again, just asking because I haven't been looking at your stats recently. I mean, are you trying to compete for any other championships, or are you in any other leagues at the moment?
No, this is the only one I'm in at the moment.
Well, we are so lucky to have you and all of your talent on display, and I keep trying to promote it, but certainly as you see the replay and the fireworks going off in the background at Gateway, absolutely beautiful to see. But I keep trying to tell everybody that Graham is the benchmark, and if you want to challenge the best, look up US IndyCar League over on look him up over on iRacing and apply, because you could end up out here going up against Graham Bunyan, see if you can give a challenge for the lead. So Graham, you've just done it. You've done it each week. You've done it here. You've absolutely made your stamp on a great racetrack. But we head to Texas next week. Could be quite a different race. A lot of draft pack type racing. What are your thoughts? Besides trying to stay clean, you're going to just drop out of the lead pack, or are you still going to race for it? What are you thinking?
It's funny. Like I try and start in all different positions. Like I'll start up the front, I'll start in the back whenever I do a fixed race or an open race, just to try and get through traffic, or try not to get wrecked. Look, I think if it's going to be rough up the front, I'll drop back. I'll let the boys fight it out up the front there, and I'll just wander around, I suppose, and give somebody else a bit of a chance. But I'll definitely stay up there and make it hard for them.
And give us a good show, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Graham, as always, an absolute pleasure to have you joining us, and thank you so much for showing up and just showing that it is possible to equip yourself at an extremely high level week in and week out. I think you bring a level of professionalism and speed to this group that everybody gets a chance to really aspire to. And when you look at three-time winning championship driver Jason Lowe, and he's struggling to match your pace this week, it really just shows that that you really you're an amazing talent, and it's just great to have you here. So thanks again, Graham. I'm struggling for words and superlatives, but really you can't say more. You're kind of the Lewis Hamilton. I'm struggling to even think of somebody who's as dominant as you are at the moment in the US IndyCar League. But a special time for you. Congratulations on your win. Congratulations on continuing to lead the points. And we'll just see how well you can do next week and whether anybody's got anything for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm quite sure somebody's got something out there. But hey, it is what it is, and I enjoy racing. It's something I've always enjoyed. So just a few things before I go. Last week in the broadcast, somebody was running the paint scheme. It looks like he's been sacked from that one and now got himself another paint scheme. David Strid.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And I just want to shout out to a couple of people. One is Richard and his wife. They're just battling a few health issues at the moment, thanks to good old COVID. So all the best goes out to those guys and speedy recovery. And also Will Stearns hasn't been healthy, so a shout out to him as well.
I'm kind of surprised, but I'm glad to hear you say that your shout out to them and your heart's with them for what they're going through. Surprised, just given your on track moments with Will Stearns, but that just shows what kind of a class act you are, still thinking of Will in difficult times. So thanks for saying that. And again, a class act on and off the track. Thank you so much, Grant, for being with us.
No worries. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having us, and you're doing a great job up there. Yourself
Absolutely.
And Matt.
Well, thank you. And Matt gets to sit and eat popcorn while we do our interviews, but I'm sure he appreciates the compliment. Thanks again, Graham. We'll see you again next week from Texas. Always a pleasure having Graham join us. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Well, folks, that's going to do it for us here. Matt, that was a heck of a race. What did you think? Graham dominated, but Kennedy coming through with a win. Maybe he'll have a chance at some of these future races. Hopefully we'll see him back. And Jason Lowe perhaps returning to championship contention.
Yeah, I thought it was a good race. Very entertaining. Lots of battles. We saw a few green flag pit stops there, so that was nice to see. And overall, just like I said, quality race. Graham showed his class for sure at what I'd call a true driver's track. But James Kennedy also showed what he's got. So I think we're up for a good battle next week at Texas. I think we'll have like probably the half the field, if not more, right up each other's throats there. And I think it's going to be a good, exciting battle.
You bet. And here we go. So looking at it, it's we've got Texas coming up. That's going to be the Miguel Macias Sr. Memorial 190. And then very quickly after that, next week, we're going to Phoenix, one of your favorite tracks, I know that. And then Las Vegas. We'll be heading to Michigan for a huge, fast drafting battle. And then finally Chicagoland, where you're going to see everybody in a pack and there will be no room for movement anywhere. But nevertheless, an exciting end of the season coming up. And Matt, looking forward to next week at Texas. So for Matt Kingsbury, it's been a pleasure having him in the booth with me, as well as having all of you joining us over on YouTube, watching from around the world. This has been the US IndyCar League's Season 11, Round 7 from Worldwide Technology Raceway. You've been watching VirtualRacing.Network. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for notifications of all of our future upcoming videos. Of course, we're kind of becoming the IndyCar Network. A couple other shows that we do. We do the IndyCar iRacing series that happens occasionally on Fridays. That's an official series. And then also recently doing the Prime Meridian Racing League. They race on Wednesdays. So definitely subscribe and stay tuned to VirtualRacing.Network. Again, for Matt Kingsbury, this has been Trevor Greenfield. Thanks so much for joining us again, everyone. Look forward to seeing you next week from Texas. Until then, bye-bye.